So welcome here today at the studio of Anna Ehrenstein. Anna, thank you very much for having us. We would like to do a short interview with Anna about her recent artistic practice and talk a little bit about the exhibition CRIPTO SIRENAS that we just have been showing in the gallery space. So Anna, maybe we start with a very simple question. Could you tell us a little bit about your recent artistic practice in general?
Sure. I just closed down a little exhibition marathon. I had like 30 shows in a year and had like 5 solos after each other. And I work in interdisciplinary artistic practice. A lot of my vivid installations look at the questions how technology shifts power relations in a post-digital and culturally hybridized environment.
And your work spans a lot with materiality, from video to performance, photography, and even installations. What fascinates you to use these different materials?
Sure, I think in total, I am someone who likes to do world building. I think that's something that comes from growing up between different societies, very diverging societies, having like a trans-Ottoman background, and because of political and familial displacement, growing up between Germany and Albania, and this idea of how narration shapes how we perceive reality is something that I translate into different materials, different affects. If you, for example, see a photo printed on textile, it can feel like a glitch coming out of the internet into physical space. So I want the people that come into my exhibitions not only... I'm not an NGO, I'm not a historian, I'm not just giving you information, I want you to feel things, I want you to have different affect. So I think I can do that through materiality in a different way, and I can also find knowledge in ways that are more emotional and more based on critique as a form of lovemaking.
You are often interested how technology and digital material culture are changing power relations, as in the work CRIPTO SIRENAS that we just showed with OFFICE IMPART. So what were you focusing in this work series?
Sure. So CRIPTO SIRENAS is a collaboration with Sunny Pfalzer, Alexa Evangelista, and Lucy Tomasino, and the Web3 researcher Josh Davila. And I think sometimes there's like two contrary ideas, where on the one is Silicon Valley and on the other is maybe the German left. And the one idea is like technology in itself is going to progress society and is a solution and is everything we need. And then the other is like technology is inherently bad, is inherently extractive, and is only there to give power to those who already are in power and helps them extract it more. So our core idea was trying to look at what is Web3 doing right now? How does it fit in between these two ideas? And we worked with the term that Josh Davila coined, technoprobabilism, to look at how Web3 could be molded in a different way. It's a 360 video work with a mythological figure we invented, was the Bitcoin ballerina.
In the shadowy corridors of El Librador, the company Beta wielded its power with an insidious technological grasp.
And she becomes a hydrofeminist, so she realizes that actually everything in this world is connected through water. And I think the bigger theme behind that work is really looking at this binary between technology and nature, and or technology, nature and culture, and kind of re-establishing the idea that's actually Bruno Latour and 90s shit, that we are part of environments and technology is not on the opposing edge, but actually technology is part of a natural canon.
Yeah, great. How do you navigate the boundaries between representation, appropriation, and solidarity in your collaborative practice, especially when it comes to marginalized voices and cultural codes? How do you focus on these topics in your work?
For sure, because I work so much in collaboration, and sometimes I do abstract textile assemblages, but in general, I'm not an abstract painter, right? I think the core of starting a project is asking myself, who am I in relation to the person that I'm working with? because our identities can be very fixed things and they can be shifting. Whereas I'm a Kanak in Germany, I'm white when I work on the African continent. So I do think that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be working or exchanging with people. I think cultural appropriation is like a main base of society. However, cultural appropriation becomes problematic when you extract from a culture and you don't feed into it and you claim what that culture did for yourself. So one example might be that there's certain things I can talk about and certain things I cannot talk about. I remember when I did the collaboration Tools for Conviviality with a team of 5 migrants in Senegal, it was really important to me that after a year of working in Senegal, I cannot make a comment on Senegalese society. That's bullshit. I can talk about migration with other people because I'm a migrant myself. But I think sometimes, especially in documentary practices or even in research practices, people claim to know things they should be silent about. And I think instead listening and acknowledging that it is important for us to have that conversation, but I know my position is really central to the work.
You describe your practice research-based. So to what extent is artistic research also a performative process for you?
So I do think there's different types of research I'm doing in works. Like I'm generally really nerdy. I like to read books and listen to podcasts and audiobooks all day. But I also like listening to rap music, and I like listening to healthcare podcasts, and I like looking at colors and pigments all day, or I like studying shapes. So I think as an artist, you have the privilege that you can do very effective research. You can be very synesthetic. You can be like, that emotion really reminds me of that color. Or you can be like, that sound really encompasses this literature for me. So I think that's a big privilege. And then sometimes even, I had a show with you called The Balkanization of the Cloud, right? Where I did education as a hypnotherapist, and that was funny. Everybody else was like doctors and psychosomatic therapists, and I was like, I'm an artist and I want to hypnotize the internet. So of course that becomes very performative, and then sometimes this also ends up in being performances in the exhibition space afterwards.
Welcome to this relaxing session to clear your networks and transmission systems from a nationalist infectious disease. I'm honored to guide you today to let go of technocratic white supremacy and feel amazing.
Yes, and I also want to talk about utopia and fiction, because in your work often it is you design speculative futures. How does appeal to you, and why do you use it in your artistic practice?
I mean, I think primarily is something subconscious. I'm a kid of the 90s. I remember the shows that were on TV were all about the future and post-apocalypse. I remember my favorite show as a kid was like called The Tribe or something like this, and it was about a secret virus that has caught the world and all adults die out and only teenagers live there. They had super cool outfits. So I think this idea of like what is happening in the future is something I grew up with, but it's a really human core. If you look at the Bible, if you look at the Quran, if you look at the Hadith, there's always ideas on what happens after apocalypse. What is the future? This like thinking about the future, I think, is a core human feature. And I think we live in a really schizophrenic time right now. We have tons of wars, we have live stream genocides, we have crazy violence. We see our iPhones are like fed by minerals in the Congo, and at the same time we live in a privilege and in a life expectancy we haven't had before. Like we've got better medicine than we ever had. So I do think living in a time with so much tension and friction, trying to reclaim utopia is something that's really important to me.
Wow, thank you, Anna, very much for all these details, and thank you for having us at the studio and the interview.
Thank you so much for passing by. I'm always happy to have visitors, especially you.
Thank you.